panel, very diverse panel with decades of experience in various roles who can share their wisdom with you. You can ask them any questions, and whether you are new into the field, whether you're trying to shift careers, or if you're senior, now is the time to learn how to solidify your career. And we have an entire panel about that. So join us for that. And I will start by introducing Diana Agushi. I've had a chance to work with her and be in other panels. And it's super rare to see such a multi-talented individual. She started in law and criminology. She studied that, but then climbed the corporate ladder and has been in various roles, in head of project management, the chief operating officer, chief of staff, and more recently, global head of strategy for marketing, communications, and people with Capgemini, which is, you probably know, it's a consulting business with 500 million revenue, and Diana has managed 5,000 employees globally. And now she is the CEO of Curain Healthcare. She manages home care in Clifton, and is switching to this emerging healthcare company that focuses on healthcare solution advocacy and bringing therapeutic services to those who need it most. And she's very passionate about her volunteer work. She's an active member in church, supports 2 nonprofit startups, and is on the board of a program from Agape House of Worship, and supports a school program. She designed and managed the Accelerator Hub program for Positive Planet in the US, which is a key program that supports minority women entrepreneurs to start their business. She also found the Women Leaders Roundtable, which is a women-led diversity group at Capgemini for women executives. And she's curated many programs for women, including a return to work program within Capgemini Financial Services that recruits and trains women and helps them come back into the workplace. And she's launched many other initiatives and is a big diversity champion. And she's going to watch this space because she's going to revolutionize the healthcare industry. I think that's a hard task, but not impossible for Diana. And yes, you have a chance to meet her today. Then we have Wendy, who is going to be our moderator for this panel. I also have had a chance to collaborate with her on events, and currently she's a lead engineer at Insights by Kantar, which is another big group that works with Google, Microsoft, and all the big companies in the world. And she has 4 technology degrees under her belt, and now is a member of the North America Inclusion and Diversity Steering Committee at Kantar, and other various employee resource groups, including Women in Tech, which she co-founded. And we talk a lot about diversity inclusion, and Wendy is actually certified in that from Cornell University, and she represents Kantar as the member of the Grace Hopper Software Engineering Executive Board. And then we have 2 more panelists. Azmath is a Chief Digital Officer at Paradigm Technologies, and he's also on the Forbes Technology Council as a member, advisor, and author. He has 25 years of technology experience, and he's delivered exceptional architecture, advisory, implementation services to Fortune 100 companies in cloud, advanced analytics, AI, ML, Internet of Things, data sciences, business intelligence, data governance, and enterprise data warehouses. And prior to Paradigm, Azmath headed Capgemini's Snowflake Center of Excellence as a senior leader. And last but not least is Phanom Dixie. She's head of data and AI at Atos. And she started by her education at the New York University. She holds a Master of Public Administration in Finance and Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Political Science. And she's had a 20 plus years career spanning multiple fields and learn how to reinvent herself and learn new solutions. And as I mentioned, she heads up data and analytics and at Atos and partners with customers on groundbreaking and innovative solutions. And before that, she was a senior director of banking and capital market and go-to-market strategy for cloud and data product. And she works closely with Google, with AWS, Microsoft, and Snowflake on aligning strategic products. And she used to have to do that for Capgemini customers globally. Before that, she was vice president of business intelligence and data products. And basically, she's somebody amazing who can give you super advice on how to pivot to your career, and also has extensive experience in product, cloud computing, cloud migration, business processes, product strategy, and delivery implementation. So welcome, Wendy, welcome, Phanom, Diana, and Azmath. I can't wait to hear your thoughts and your discussion.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, this is Wendy. Do you see the camera on for me?
No, I don't believe so.
Your camera is off, Wendy.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Why? Now I think I've got it.
There you go.
Yeah, hi.
How are you?
Okay, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi. My name is Wendy Durica, and I will be moderating our discussion today. I work at Kantar, and I'm very happy to talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science in general. I'm also an IND, inclusion and diversity professional, and I'd like to just first, for diversity, introduce myself by welcoming people of having a disability. And in case you're using some kind of assistive technology, I just want to sort of describe myself as a middle-aged woman with red curly hair. I have dark rimmed glasses on and a dark top, and just sort of white walls behind me. And I have invited some people that I hope are here today, representing Society of Women Engineers, IEEE, and AnitaB.org, and my favorite group that I work with, the Trans Tech Social Enterprises. And please feel free to visit any of these websites to learn about diverse pipelines of talent. I think that a great way to get started today is to have each of our panelists give a brief summary of their career journey and what industries have you been in along the way. Diana, can I start with you?
Thank you, Wendy. So can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Diana.
Awesome. Awesome. Hi. Listen, hi guys. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And this is such a great initiative. So, kudos to Bill, Anna, the rest of the team, and of course, all the amazing speakers that are giving their time here. So, thank you guys so much. It's really great that we continue to come together to support each other, to empower one another, and to just share knowledge. So definitely an honor to be here. I'm very excited. I feel like Anna did such a great job kind of reading my bio. I almost don't know what to say, but my career actually interestingly started in law. I studied law. I think I shared that sort of diverse background with Phanom. I started in law, and then I was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to do criminology, in the UK, and I ended up in technology and financial services. So I started as in project management, supporting developers and essentially the sort of SMEs in managing their projects, and that's really how I kind of came up the ladder, so to speak. And my role, grew into business management, and ended up as a CEO, and it's pretty much just been a very interesting, but I would say amazing journey. I'm one of those people. I think my motto is really just do it. So when I see an opportunity, I just jump on it. When I see an area where I feel like I can grow, I want to learn more, I literally just, study hard and kind of jump into it. So I've kind of moved around in technology a lot. And, more recently, like Anna mentioned, I was at Capgemini with this amazing panel, actually, that is on as well. We've actually had the pleasure to work together, and super excited to be on the panel with them. And if you look at the accomplishments, great accomplishment that they've accomplished. But like I said, pretty much kind of coming in there, working with technology people. I'm one of those people that work in technology but is not a technologist. And some will argue and say, well, now you're a technologist, but I'm not. My husband is a software developer. I think one is enough, for the family. But it's been great, kind of looking at the industry with a different layers, and maybe more from the business side. And more recently, we took another leap, so another just do it, and now I'm managing a healthcare organization, that really is focused on using technology to really bridge gaps. For those of you that may or may not be familiar with healthcare, it's really an area that we need a lot of development. And with the pandemic, I don't want to jump ahead, Wendy, but there's a lot of growth and that needs to happen in healthcare. So that's kind of like where I am now. I'm the CEO of Synergy Home Care. I also manage what we call Curing Healthcare Services. And we're growing, and we're excited about the future, and what we can change and how we can make a difference in the lives of those that are less vulnerable and those that need help. So that's me. Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks. Azmath, do you want to go next?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Wendy, and thanks everyone for having me on this panel. Really appreciate it. As Anna already introduced, I'm fortunate to be with you guys and having about 25, 26 years experience in the IT field. I never thought today I'll be here where I am, right? I mean, when I started off, like many of you guys, hey, computer science, great, good for the job. And probably you'll have some technologies that you will start off with. But as the career evolved, right, and the technology kept changing, today it's all about AI, ML, and that's why we're here. It was all about you're watching a sci-fi movie and talking about AI and all that. And now AI is shaping our society. And in the last 6 years, I've been very affiliated to the technology in some form of fashion. I've done some keynotes, events around artificial intelligence and augmented reality and all that. And it is going to change. It is also going to look at from a diversity standpoint, we have to look at how AI can shape that as for the society as well, right? Remove that biasness from a diversity inclusion standpoint. So I'm a champion of that, and I'm glad that things are changing from a technology standpoint. At the same token, today at Paradigm, we are very a diverse group of folks who look at bringing in the right talent from the market and making sure that we fit them and try to get the best, right, from both ways in terms of the hiring, as well as in terms of making sure that our client gets the value from the right size hiring we do. Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, great, thanks. Phanom, please introduce yourself and let us know a summary of your career journey.
Sure. And I will say this, Wendy, of all the folks here on the panel, I am the least technologist focused. I actually started off my career working on the trading desk. So I worked at JP Morgan, I worked at Deutsche Bank, I worked at Merrill Lynch. And for me, it was really, I took the, if you recall, the credit crisis of 2008 as a vantage point for me, because at that time, before this digital transformation happened, everything was very manual on the trading desk, right? Everything was very Excel spreadsheets, a shared drive, things were on Bloomberg, things were on Thomson Reuters, but again, in very disparate locations. And, someone came to me and said, hey, you know what? We know that you understand the different models that the trading desk is implementing, but, it's very apparent that it needs to be systematic, right? Especially because of the way the downturn happened, right? How could we have best been, leveraged? How could we have, hedged our positions and our trades, and how do we do this evaluation, right? Back then in the 2000s, I essentially became a product manager when product management was not a thing. It was the business folks who worked with the developers side by side to build a platform. And especially now, the way that it's happened, of course, my experience has been within financial services, banking and capital markets, and insurance. I've been able to, and again, thank you for having me here. I've definitely been the poster child of changing your career and shifting and taking advantage of opportunities. And coming from a master's degree in finance, I didn't ever have to code in, SQL, where when I became a product manager, I had to learn what exactly the developers were doing. So for me, I have leveraged people like Azmath and Diana to essentially, not only be my colleagues, but they've taught me things. So I've always continuously learned. So like I said, all respect due to Azmath and Diana. I am grateful for their experience and their mentorship, as we all, we worked at Capgemini together.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, all of you, for introducing. Azmath, if I can start the next question with you. Coming off of 2 years of pandemic, what jobs do you think have an urgent need right now?
If you look at, I'm going to be a little bit biased because we are in an AI forum here, right? And if you look at the research, leading research, when they looked at the emerging job reports that came out on LinkedIn, they said artificial intelligence is top emerging job for 2022, right? So if the reports are saying that there is a high demand for folks who are data scientists, right, who are machine learning, who are more Python savvy, right? And that we are seeing that as an uptick, right? During the pandemic, what has happened is a lot more automation has happened, right? There's a need for not going to work. That created a lot more revenue stream for C-level folks to invest in different technologies, which they would have been cash strapped over the course of 2 years, if not for the pandemic, to put on, right? So the speed of automation, the speed and the need for putting it on new generation technologies, whether it is cloud related or not, kind of quadrupled over the last 2 years. And I'm coming off the pandemic and looking at our universities, and a lot of certification courses have propped up in the market, And most of them are more driven towards AI now. The certifications are there. And I see there's a lot of that momentum, plus the cloud part too. There's a lot of interest in the market where they're looking for folks who are cloud engineers, cloud analysts.
Okay, thank you. Phanom, can I come to you and ask the same questions? What need do you see in AI and machine learning?
Yep. So I will definitely say when it comes to, data and AI, I definitely agree with Azmath that AI and, again, augmented reality, computer vision, those are the type of things that we need to focus on. But, aside from that, making sure that you have the best data, you have the fastest data, it's enhanced. So I would definitely say that, from a job perspective, although, again, AI is a tremendous feature, especially now with folks working from home remotely, and things are just kind of, you need automation and processing. I would say a lot of the job growth that I have seen is in the data aspect, right? Because you're really thinking about, how do I get accelerated data, right? How do I process this information? How do I deal with latency, right? Because again, if I'm using data that's mission critical, I need to make sure that as a stakeholder, I'm using the best data to make the decisions that I need. And then also, what are my customer impacts? So for me, it's really making sure I give them the best insights and the integrated solutions. And it's the old adage of, you cannot have AI models without garbage in, garbage out. So for me, it's really looking at how do you create an entire ecosystem and solution. So even if you are not a quote unquote data scientist, there are various roles now that need to be focused on data engineering and data cleansing, and understanding how to do that. Even something as simple as, creating the best fact and dimensional tables to support the data scientists and the executive stakeholders.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Diana, to you, any urgent needs you see for jobs to be filled right now?
No, honestly, I think Phanom and Azmath has done a great job of really laying it out. I think, if we go a little bit more granular, to Phanom's point, you're looking at data scientists. I think big data is a big one. Of course, software development almost never will go away. It's a skill you need to have, and make sure that you're increasing the languages. But I think cloud architect is a good one to kind of watch out for. When you look at the cloud space, the way it's growing, and of course, we don't want to forget, sort of like the blockchain engineers and those type of jobs as well are really coming up. So just to add to that.
Okay, and then let me stay with you, Diana, and just ask, so that is urgent need now, but where do you see careers heading? What things in the future could people be thinking?
Well, that's a good point. I think that while we continue to evolve in terms of how, looking at it from a technology perspective, the industries that I'm really focused on right now is finance, healthcare. I see that there's a growing need that's going to sort of arise out of that. And so we'll never stop needing data engineers and our software developers, and cloud is still going to play a big role, in the future, and sort of shaping, because AI, ML obviously now coming in and shaping how we look at things and removing, the need for those manual interventions. So we got to make sure that, we're adapting. So I would say that, from an industry perspective, we still want to focus on finance and healthcare, health organizations, and really look at those jobs around data scientists, data engineers. I think big data is still coming up in the future. So it's almost like they're not going anywhere. So going back to what I just said.
Okay, Azmath, is there something in the future that we are not discussing now?
I think there's a lot. The future is today, right? It's not going to go anywhere further, and there's a big demand. So there is data analytics, there is user experience, right? Where we can work with products to help customers understand their function and can use them easily. Then there's the natural language processing. That's like today you're building out chatbots and virtual assistants and all that stuff. And there's a lot of research scientists, which is basically stemming off of data scientists. And as Diana mentioned, all these companies, the industries that you are in, healthcare and all that, they're heavily investing on research scientists, right? Those who have expertise in applied math, machine learning, deep learning, and computational statistics, right? And software engineer, AI engineer, all that is here to stay today. But as you see this evolution, the evolution is going to be more on data mining and analysis, the research scientists, citizen data scientists that became very popular in the last 3 years. You'll see a lot of that hiring that is going to happen in the market. The large companies today, right? Whether you're a Nike or you're Walmart and Amazon's, they're investing heavily on this platform. And there's a lot of hiring that is happening for next generation talent. You'll see that trend more and more popular.
Okay. And Phanom, is there something in the future that we don't discuss now?
Yeah, so I would definitely say, and this is a piece right now, especially as companies are going through a digital modernization, data modernization process in their life cycle, right? Because a lot of customers, from what we've seen, is they're straddling the world of on-prem data environments, and you're moving over to the cloud, right? And companies are growing, at a huge rate, right? Companies are getting acquired, and it's kind of like, how do you bring all these companies into, one ecosystem? So for me, thinking of, again, on-prem and the way companies are changing and shifting, I'm really focused on data readiness. So for me, I need to know, hey, how robust is the data? How are we getting all the different business units aligned so that now you have a cohesive data environment, you have a strong structural environment for you to go over to a cloud warehouse. But also at the same time, I definitely would say, for folks, getting into the spaces, really make sure that you're aligned with tools and a lot of software that's coming out now. I would say within, the last 10 years, I've seen so many different startups and companies that have started up that have really been the disruptors in the industry, right? And this is aside from the fintechs and the insurtechs of the world, is you're having companies that are saying, hey, you know what? We're going to go against the grain and we're going to create a better, faster cloud data warehouse that is, again, it's data agnostic, or it's going to be able to help you uncover the single source of truth. It's going to be able to help you scale out your business and really disseminate that information. And then, of course, and my favorite and greatest, and I'm going to be very biased towards this, is really for business intelligence and data, because again, you're going to be able to get this information out to executive stakeholders, customers, decision makers, and you really need to have a robust BI reporting platform as well as an analytics tool set. So for me, that really goes through the entire analytics models that you're supporting, because if I were an executive and I'm saying, hey, you know what, I need to have, certain data sets because I have to make a decision, you're not going to go in and break out what exactly am I doing for an AI model, right? Or what's in my machine learning. I don't care how that hamburger is made. I just want my hamburger and I need it in an hour. Can you support me in that, right? So, and again, supporting a multitude of stakeholders and executives, you really need to make sure that your data is not garbage in, garbage out for the data science community and executive stakeholders that you're supporting.
Okay, great. Thank you. Diana, when I mentor young professionals or mid-career changes, I always have them, when they look at a company, look at their website to make sure, however they are authentically bringing themselves to work is shown. If as a woman in tech, I want to make sure that they have an employee resource group of it, or somehow to know that I'm supported as a whole person. Where do you tell people to start when it comes to AI and machine learning, looking for jobs, checking out companies?
I don't want to claim to be the expert on AI and machine learning, so I'll let the experts answer that. But if I take that as a general question, honestly, you hit the nail on the head. You want to obviously start with a company website. It seems like a no-brainer, but really just reading in between the lines and looking at what they put in the jobs. And honestly, guys, don't underestimate the power of forums. You go to your Glassdoors, go and take a look at reviews. You will find out a lot about companies based on what people say about them, because the people are the key. Without the people, there's no company. So I really, believe it or not, pay a lot of attention to what is being said about a company. I also look at what a company supports. So, if you look up a company on LinkedIn, what is in the forefront, because no matter how much we want to focus on marketing or how to put ourselves out there, how to bring more clients in, what are we pushing forward as a company? What are we passionate about? What events are we holding? What are our thoughts? What is our position? What is our stand on certain things? So I would say that in the world that we're in today, where we have access to a lot of things online, we really, really want to make sure that we are taking advantage of that and doing our due diligence and just going in to see how best we can understand. Another thing that you can do, honestly, you can find somebody in the company, go on LinkedIn and reach out to them. And just say, hi, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm looking at opportunities within this company. I just want to learn a little bit more about the culture. I know most people shy away from that, but it's very important that you do that, and just say, and you may or may not give information, but you can just say, I'm just looking for an unbiased opinion. Just tell me what you think. Sample people, do a sample, look for some junior people, look for some senior people, so that, again, people are not telling you what they think you want to hear, or they panic and they think, okay, why are you asking me this question? But I would say that we do have a lot of opportunity. Also, give them a call. This is old school way. Give them a call, ask for somebody in HR and say, hey, I want to learn a little bit more about you. What position are you looking for? If you don't mind, if you could just humor me and indulge me, I just want to learn a bit more about the company. If you can help me, can you direct me to somebody who can help me? That works wonders. I've actually done that in jobs that I've taken. I've randomly just called the HR and I've asked them questions and say, hey, can you direct me to somebody? They do. And I learn a lot. And again, it's not about asking them the right questions. It's hidden in their responses, and you'll learn a little bit of support. So I feel like that can be applied across. Also, I'll just close with this because I'm sure my colleagues have a lot more to add. But you also want to look at, if you're looking at AI ML, what is the company investing in? It kind of, again, going back to me saying, looking at what their DNA is, what are they investing in, where do they see themselves? As much information as you can about them will kind of pretty much help you to see if you think is the right fit for you, and if the company culture, which I'm very particular about, is right for you.
Hey, Azmath, is there something that you would particularly look for in a company if you were going after data science?
So I have a little bit more structured approach. I mean, I think this goes to what Diana was telling, right? But I'll just structure it a little bit better, where if you're interested in a career, especially with AI, and you have a question about where do you start, right? The first step is you conduct a research, which include talking to a current AI professional through a network in LinkedIn or such, right? Researching reputable colleagues if you're mid-level in your career, and programs that offer AI-related degrees like Stanford and others. They have certification programs, right? Look at that. You, at least from a bare bones, you need to have a bachelor's degree. When you're talking about AI, right? At least in math and some basic computer technology to start. And an advanced degree in artificial intelligence is also something to consider pursuing if you are looking to stand out from the other applicants and learn real world experience from industry experts, right? And then the question comes about is what type of skills and background do I need to pursue a career in artificial intelligence? So in that case, it is very important to have a strong background in math, science, engineering, and a command of at least one of the following programming languages like Python, C, and MATLAB, right? And then you should also chart out and look at what is my outlook for a career in AI? Is it extremely promising? There are more artificial jobs out there for skilled professionals. And is this something that you want to do from influencing the society in the future, right? Those are the questions that you'll have to. And there was a question in the chat box where somebody's asking about master's degree. Do I really need a master's degree, right? Most top-level AI jobs today will typically require your master's degree, including research scientists that I talked to you about, AI engineers and big data engineers. And most AI roles will require applicants to have at least a solid footing and a knowledge and skills with MATLAB, C++, and Python programming. So in this case, it'll be a nice feather in the cap to have a master's degree, right? But then also there's a trend that is changing where folks like the Apple, Google, those folks are like, waiving the applicants not to have a college degree, right? But that is an exception if you are really, really good at, and you're a computer whiz or you're geeky and you can code things in. And that's very exceptional. But let's talk about the norm. The industry norm is you're always going to have a technology degree. It's not an expectation. If you're a gardener, you don't need to have a technology degree, but this is an AI job, right? This is something that you need to know at least the basic foundation, what to go and help working towards, whether it's programming or analytical skills, you need to have that basic degree at least. So that's what I like in seeing people who are applying for jobs. And that's what I would say for folks who are trying to make that career path.
Thank you. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree, because I went back to school to get a master's to prove that I was up to date and ready for a new challenge. So as a mid-career change, it helped a lot. Phanom, do you have any suggestions for people where they would start if they were going to look for a job in data science?
Yeah, so I would definitely say, so I do agree with, all of the above that my colleagues have stated, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of a twist, because I think a key piece of this also is there exists in the world of, AI, ML is the strategists, right? Because, there are the technical folks that can do the engineering and implementation, but we should also remember that there are folks who are running product and strategy and program management of these AI solutions, right? Because there comes a point where you do have an image recognition or natural language processing model, but sooner or later, your customer or your company that you're going to apply to and work at, they're going to expect that you deliver this widget that does something. So there are those type of roles. If, let's say, you don't have the means or the access to go back and get, a master's degree in data science, right? There are those folks who need to make sure that customers and stakeholders, their needs are met. So I don't want to ignore the folks who are in product, the business analysts and the program managers. And that's, that's another slice of heaven for data and AI that I really enjoy. Another recommended way to do this also is, before you're prepping for an interview or you're applying, go to one of the hyperscaler websites. You can sign up for free. You can start taking, whether it's AWS or GCP or Azure, go onto their websites and get the certifications, right? They're fairly inexpensive compared to an entire master's degree. And I will definitely say that whenever I'm looking at resumes, I'm going to be looking at other aspects, because I do want to make sure that folks who typically would not have gotten into this industry have the means and the access to do so. So if I see that, you do have a bachelor's or even associate's degree, but you have the aptitude to learn and you have all these AWS certifications, I may have a need for that. And if you can showcase on your resume, your public GitHub, or if you can show a sample of your work, that to me means the world, because I'm going to be focused on that you can do things from a technical standpoint, but I'm also going to be looking at the soft skills, right? Are you good with stakeholders? Do you understand strategy? Do you understand the entire ecosystem of the problems that we're solving? And again, data and AI, we need a ton of bandwidth and we need firepower under the engine, right? So we're looking at, what do the hyperscalers help us out with? Are you doing some work to do some self-start? Are you creating a way for yourself to get certified? So for me, that's pretty key to see a self-starter. And I have interviewed candidates where, you know, they don't even have a bachelor's degree, and I'm interviewing them for data engineering degree jobs. And I'm like, wow, you did all that? Like you created, and it doesn't have to be a sophisticated AI model, because I think at the consulting firms that we are at right now, we have a huge bench strength of PhDs and quantitative folks that will go in and do the models. But if you can come in and show that like you were thinking of a problem in the industries that you're wanting to get into, that to me means so much more than just a straight master's degree or a PhD, to be honest.
And Wendy, you know what, if I could just hop on that, I completely agree with you, Phanom. You know, because I was actually looking at the question more from a what should you, look out for in a company. But yeah, I completely agree. You know, there are many inexpensive ways, honestly, to really train yourself and, bring yourself to the next level. What I would say, just to add to everything Phanom have said, because I think she spoke very well, is just to say, work on a project. Raise your hand to see if you can work on a project within your current organization, with another team, if not even with your colleagues, your friends outside of work. So that way you can even use that to show, the part that you played in that project. And then also get a recommendation. So you may not have a master's degree or a PhD, but if you can get a recommendation from people that you've worked with or your colleagues, that I think will go a long way. And of course, make sure you're putting that right there in front of the recruiter or leaders like Phanom when they're interviewing. Don't bring that as a last at the end. And, oh, by the way, I worked in 2 projects. No, you want to really put that out there to show that, you have aptitude to learn, you're flexible, you're willing to try new things, and like Phanom said, that you're also not just looking at it from a technical perspective, but that you have a little bit more to bring to the table. So, I just wanted to add that. I think, thank you so much.
And to add into what Diana said, right, there are ways today to showcase that. I mean, there is social media so powerful. If I'm a guy who's working on AI and I build something out, I literally can showcase that on Google, Facebook, on those kind of platforms.
Right.
And there are crowdsourcing platforms, right? Like Topcoder and all that, where I had good fortunes to be with Wipro, and Wipro had a crowdsourcing platform called Topcoder. So what we used to do is, when we needed the talent and we didn't have the talent, like Phanom mentioned, she had PhDs available. In some situations, not everybody has a bench where the PhDs are available. So we would put that as a challenge, right, from a use case standpoint. And we would have a lot of folks going and coding away and showcasing their skills. And of course, it's pay, it's extra money. And at the same token, that is something that the rest of the community gets to see what you bring to the table.
Right.
Right, thank you. Azmath, if I can just stay with you and say, sometimes we just assume people know things, but what types of industries are hiring?
So the type of industries: financial services, healthcare, as Diana mentioned, technology, media, marketing, government and military. Absolutely, for 60 years they've been doing AI. Okay, now national security, of course, IoT-enabled systems, agriculture. Today, crypto, right? Huge cryptos. People, and then gaming. And we see like DraftKings and other companies hiring big time for modeling expertise and all that. And then retail all the time. Retail was one of the first industries which really, after financial services, went into hiring the AI talent, because they wanted to know modeling in terms of seasonal patterns, when to order, what's the inventory look like, all that. So pretty much everybody now has gotten an awakening call after pandemic. Either you close down business, or you got to be attracting the common user who's sitting at home. You have to do a lot more modeling. For example, just before you came on this call, Wendy, and you were having trouble showing the video chat. If there was better AI built on the Zoom, it would have invoked you and shown you right away, not make you go and push the start button, right? It's coming. It'll happen in the next iteration. Hopefully, that's a good product innovation for Zoom.
Okay, great, thanks. And Diana, if I can come to you, one of the things Azmath just said was cryptocurrency, and talking about diversity. I know that it's lacking in diversity. That's one place that is really trying to hire more people. But what other industries do you think, when talking to a diverse audience, would be eager for them to apply?
So I'm going to answer in a very interesting way. I feel like every company needs to sort of look within and just be more inclusive and be more diverse in how they hire, you know. And then people say, well, we expect you to say that, Diana, you know, you're a diversity champion, you're very focused on that. But no, honestly, and when we talk diversity, right, we understand that we're not just focused on gender, you know, we're not just focused on color, and we're not even just focused on your ability, right? We want to be inclusive in every way. So honestly, I think, you know, we all know that technology has ways to go. And I think that, you know, some companies are really, you know, we don't want to say maybe they're paying lip service, but they begin to invest really more in trying to say, you know, how can we be more diverse in you know, within our company, because then that helps us to be more diverse in our thinking, you know, like, so then we can be more innovative. They're really realizing the importance of that. So, you know, of course, you know, you look at industry like technology, there's a ways to go, is something they have to continue to do. But healthcare is an interesting one, you know, just because of the way that healthcare is set up, you do have certain aspects of healthcare that is heavily dominated by male, and there's some parts that are heavily dominated by female, or dominated by certain people from certain, you know, I would say color or ethnicity. So it's really sort of jumbled a little bit and all over the place. So I think that, you know, big companies like that really need to be thinking about that. And of course, finance is never far behind. So, you know, like I said, I feel like everybody needs to look at it, even as a small business. We continue to make sure that, you know, we're diverse in the people that we're bringing to the table, in the people that we're hiring. Just, you know, it just brings more innovation to the table in terms of how we think. So I don't feel like it's one particular type, one area. I just feel like it's something that everybody really needs to be thinking about.
Okay, thanks. And Phanom, when it comes to industries, and we do hear a lot about, you know, bias from the algorithms and such. Are there, you know, fintech jumps to mind to me. I just, whenever there's jobs, I'm always hearing fintech. Is there something that jumps out about an industry to you?
Yeah, so I would definitely say, you know, within the fintech and insurtech space, I would definitely say that when it comes to like potentially bias, I mean, there have been, you know, I've done some research on some type of facial recognition solutions, right, where it has, and I've, you know, I've talked to, you know, some PhDs, and they've talked about how they've actually had to stop facial recognition because it actually ends up profiling people, right? A set of folks. And that's one of the things where I think if you did have more of a diverse staff that could come in and say, hey, that is something that could potentially be biased, right? Or is that an algorithm that would potentially help with, you know, folks who are in, you know, a standing, you know, that is maybe in poverty or that need a little bit of help. So I would definitely say that those are the type of industries that would benefit from AI from a diverse standpoint, diverse staff, because they'll be able to come in and say, hey, that isn't what's happening at, you know, the poverty level. And I'll speak for myself, right? My father was a teacher. He was in the Army. You know, my mother was a factory worker, right? And she was a janitor in some parts, right? So for me, it was kind of like, hey, when I'm looking at different AI models, for example, a credit lending type of a profile, how do you reassess your AI model to adapt for differing, you know, socioeconomic levels, right? That I think typically, if you don't have that way to get in to come, you know, again, and this is something where most people nowadays, you know, you take for granted, right? A bachelor's and a master's degree, and even going to PhD program, most of the folks who would have that diverse thinking may not have that, which is why, for example, you know, previous companies that I've been at, for example, at Moody's Analytics, we had a huge diversity and inclusion recruiting process where we went to the HBCUs to make sure that we had, you know, males and females from HBCU that would basically come in and help us with that innovative thinking. And we're doing that stuff now. And I would say even at Capgemini, when we, Diane and I, we were part of the leadership team of bringing in diverse candidates and female candidates, because we wanted to have that. Because if, again, it depends on who's creating that algorithm and looking at different data sets that impact society, right? And you've heard of it where they've actually stopped creating, facial recognition because it impairs the ability for facial recognition against Black and Latino men, right? So some of those things, I think, and that really goes into ethical AI, that the more, people that are in the industry and come in and say, hey, that's really biased. And should we really put that out there? Because you can, again, like Azmath said, AI is, on the front forum right now, but how do you kind of use ethical, aspects of it, and how do you bring in that data? So for me, I will come in and say, as a father who was in the Army during the Vietnam War, that's a pretty key aspect for me.
Okay.
So,
thank you. Oh.
yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Go on.
so I like the social impact of AI that Phanom brought in. So I'm part of the Forbes Council, and this topic came out last month, right, on diversity and inclusion in AI. There is one aspect to it from a career standpoint, seeing how much diverse minority groups are taking in careers in AI. But I think the social impact is really a very important question that all these major software companies, Google, Facebook, Apple, all of them have to address this. Why I would say is, like, for example, AI systems are built on learning from data, right? And if the data is skewed as per the view of a person building it, it can have major consequences. Furthermore, to me, AI is already around us in places you might not be aware of. For instance, the surveillance cameras like the Phanom was talking about, right? In many countries already have sophisticated AI technology that evaluates every second of the movement of their citizens. If there is implicit bias in the system, it can be unjust to some people. So diversity holds great importance because we want to make sure that when an AI system makes a call, it will be able to make accurate decisions. So with the increasing role that AI plays in business processes, so making sure that it is invisible to people, at the same token that implicit bias is removed, is going to be very much important, right? So my thing is, diversity in AI is necessary to avoid that bias in the roots of these systems and remove that problem that polarizes and creates that, systemic issues, right? And demand for more inclusion and true ownership.
Thank you. I think that's probably one of our most important points to make about bias is, how do we fight it? And last summer, there was an important documentary called Coded Bias that really exemplified how things can go wrong with the profiling, like you've discussed, and the need, and just to say to the audience here, is to have what you bring, your unique differences are what will make a stronger future for AI. Anna, can I ask time-wise, should we pull up some questions that people have typed in?
I thank you for the question, Wendy. We have until 5:10, so 12 minutes. If you'd like to continue a little bit more, you are welcome to. There was another question in the audience about if you recommend any ML and FinTech free boot camps for those who are trying to switch careers into those fields. But other than that, since it's a career panel, we can maybe give more advice how to empower people.
No, that's fine. We can keep going with the questions. I just wasn't sure. I saw there were some things written in, unless it was just people having comments in there, so I didn't. Do any of you have like a personal experience with bias, whether it's at work or something else to share?
I mean, before that, I think the question from Anna, I just want to take this so that the person who asked gets the answer. So I would say, take a look at the top artificial intelligence companies: Google, DeepMind, OpenAI, Baidu, Microsoft, IBM, Uber, Facebook, which is Meta, and Apple, right? Look at what they're doing. It's all published. For example, Uber has Michelangelo. That's how Uber became Uber. Everything behind the scenes, the point in time where you get somebody coming and picking you up, is all the engine behind that, is that whole Michelangelo. And that was the reason why Uber is where it is. And then they were able to model off of that, and everybody else kind of used it for other technologies. So the entire thing about Michelangelo is being published. It's something that you can take. You can go to code bases, which open code bases are there in the forum. You can take it, download Python, Jupyter Notebook, whatever on your thing, and start playing around. And you can build the entire algorithms on your own, modeling off. And there you go. So you're now getting your hands wet on it. Now, certification, every university, because they've been suffering in the last 2 years because of pandemic, is offering certifications around AI. Take a look at which one is nearest to you, which ones are more accredited, right? To me, I like the one Stanford has a great AI program, right? Take a look at that. MIT also has one now. If you really want that big logos, right, from a big university kind of thing, take a look at that. And then there's Udemy. There's like even the low cost ones. And Udemy, you can pay $10 to $20 and take a self-paced learning course. LinkedIn has several courses. You can sign up for that if you have the LinkedIn Platinum Gold account, whatever, and you can do that. So there's plenty out there. You can practice and learn, and then get yourself certified and start looking at networking. Networking is the key for getting a job today. LinkedIn, Indeed, of course, ZipRecruiter, and there you go. And we're always there to help you guys out besides the forum here, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I will definitely say, just to add to that is, even if you have, graduated from university, quite a few years ago, I would recommend going back to them and seeing what they have for Office of Career Services. Again, being an alumnus of, NYU, a big piece of that is I go back and I say, hey, do you guys have any training or certifications? Do you guys have any forums? Because what will end up happening, and this is why I kind of point to academia, is, for me, I rely on the PhDs of the world to learn from them. So, within that PhD process, they're always thinking about their dissertations and coming up with new ways. So for me, I always look to, my alumni network to try to figure out, and they always will have like mixers and networking and webinars to showcase what exactly can we do, with this new technology, and to be just staying, abreast of the market and the industry. So I will definitely say that, as well as just to add to it, if you are kind of changing careers and you're looking at things, I would definitely say what helped me is I went to community college just to take a couple of classes, where, some of you guys will laugh at this, where I took a class where they taught me how to code in HTML. And for me, I felt such an accomplishment of I coded the hello world, the typical, the first class. So for me, it was really changing my mindset of the language. And I would definitely say, look at some of the new software, because they will definitely give you like a free trial or a download. And they have sample data sets where you can go in and you can learn how to code. Definitely use resources such as forums like GitHub. You can reach out to folks. You can look at their code if they've shared it and it's been public. So you can definitely use resources out there to help you just gain more knowledge and strength within the area that you want to. And I closely follow McKinsey, for example, on Twitter, as well as I have their newsletter. And I also subscribe to Harvard Business Review as well, because they have a plethora of information that will kind of keep you abreast of the market and, you know, new trends and new changes. So I would definitely say those are cost-effective ways if you're looking to, you know, shift and change even industries, right? That really helps, because now you can have, you know, very thoughtful conversations with different stakeholders.
And Phanom, there was a question about boot camps, right? I did mention about MIT. MIT has a X-Pro 8-week boot camp on building AI product and services. This is for folks who are already the step 1, step 2, their mid-level career. They want to do some boot camps. That's a great program. It's advertised all over the net, and it's a self-paced. You could do that boot camp. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, there's one more I could throw in, which is Kaggle, Kaggle.
Oh yeah.
That's a great place to exercise and play around with machine learning. I have a question for Diana, but I saw her picture go away from my screen. Is she still on?
She reconnected, her screen froze, but she's
okay.
Here.
Is she here?
You can ask us. We can probably fill in as much as we can.
Yes, yeah.
She said she was back.
I wanted to talk about what it means to be an ally or champion. And, you know, people sometimes have a teacher who they can really turn to. And I wanted to ask Diana about any advice you could give to empower people with trying to step into this career. But until she logs in, is there any stories you can tell about, you know, having an ally or champion or something that helped you?
Yeah, I can definitely take that. And I will tell you, my ally is right here on the call with us.
You guys hear me? You guys can hear me, right?
Oh, hi.
Yes.
Yes, Diana. Yes,
Okay,
I hear
perfect.
you.
We'll carry on, Phanom, and I'll just round up.
Sure. So I will definitely say, you know, as you're, you know, shifting your focus, shifting your job role, I would definitely say, look to folks who are experts in their area. So for example, you know, Azmath was the global lead for Snowflake Center of Excellence at Capgemini. And while I had experienced it at a previous company, I knew it, but I would say Azmath put me on steroids when it came to Snowflake. Right. I mean, we were probably working on like 8 or 9, you know, client engagements on how to effectively deliver it. So for me to be able to learn from folks who are hands-on, teaching me to say, hey, these are the best benefits of it, and this is how we do it. You know, find folks who are experts, who have the time and the interest, and no matter how busy or important they are, you know, I'm going to say right now, one of my mentors is Azmath. He definitely took an interest, and he was like, hey, I know you're not the technical person, but if you want to, I can make you lethal. So that is, you know, that was my ally to help support. Even again, remember, I transitioned, like I said in the beginning of the call, I came from investment banking and I was on the business side, market risk. Had it not been for the developers who taught me, no, this is how we build a system, and this is how we connect an API, and this is how you program all the data sources so that I can make a decision. I look to all those folks to help support me and teach me the ways that, you know, again, I wasn't classically trained as a typical computer science major, right? I was a finance, economics, political science major. So I leaned on those folks, and I have some really, you know, good, you know, longstanding, strong relationship with these folks where I can call them at any time and say, hey, I'm dealing with something. Can you kind of, you know, give me some advice as to how to do something technically? All right. So.
Well, that's thank you. I didn't know that, but I appreciate it, Phanom.
Well, now you know.
Now you know. And you know what? And just jumping on the back of that, that is, I think Phanom articulated properly. You know, you want to find people that are willing to support you and have the knowledge, and, you know, not to, this is not praise Azmath's day, but you just got to say the truth when you got to say the truth. You know, Azmath really, if I take a step back from my position as head of strategy, I would say openly that there was really no Snowflake until Azmath came. So it's not a case that he was leading Snowflake, but he brought Snowflake to us. He brought Snowflake alive. You know, we made millions of dollars from that, but also we were able to, you know, make a difference in the companies that we work with and we supported. And Azmath just pretty much started the Snowflake COE, the Center of Excellence, from the ground up. You know, he didn't have a team. I mean, he pretty much just came in and did what he had to do and was very hands-on, like Phanom said. And so there are people like that. You know, you wanna seek them out. I mean, I think a lot of people will be seeking them out, but if you can build relationships with them, show them that you're willing to learn, they will also invest in you. You know, I've been fortunate that I've had a few allies and champions in my career. And, you know, I remember when I started very early in my career, Wendy, and I would say in meetings and I wouldn't say anything. And then after the meeting, I would go to this, you know, my manager at the time, and I'd be like, oh, you know, we should have done this way, or we should do this way. And he was like, why didn't you just speak up in the meeting? And I'm like, oh, well, you know, I'm like the only woman in the room, is technology or whatever, all the excuses I tell myself, or perhaps because they wouldn't let me talk, because I've experienced that. You know, I've been in meetings. There was a meeting I was in, a very small meeting. It wasn't even a large meeting, guys. There was only 4 of us in the room, and you know, my manager at the time asked me a question about a client that I was working with. And true story, I really couldn't get a word out because the other 3 guys in the room were trying to answer the question for me, and he had to say, I'm talking to Diana. So, and that, you know, and yeah. he did that, right? He realized that I was trying to get a word in, somebody kept interrupting me. So, you know, we gotta do that for each other, is another lesson that I wanted to bring. Yes, we want to seek those people out. Yes, we want to really show that we're innovative, we're creative, we're willing to learn, and people can invest in us. But we also have to be those people. We want to be the Phanoms and the Azmaths and the Wendys and the Annas of this world as well to other people. You know, you want to pay it forward. You want to support other people. And, you know, I'm going to close with this. I know this is a career, you know, we wanted to kind of bring it up to career and sort of advancing your career. And, you know, I think these amazing people have made great strides in their career. But I want to say this, and Anna is going to crack up wherever she is. But if you know the Gambler song, go and listen to it. You know, the Gambler song is one of my favorite. And it's not just because I love the lyrics of the song or the musical behind it. I'll give you the words without making a fool of myself. It said, you know, you gotta know when to hold, know when to fold, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough to count them when the dealing's done. Listen, guys, when it's time to move on, move on. When it's time to pivot, it's okay. Sometimes you don't get that promotion, that's fine. You know, move sideways, move vertically, horizontally, like they always say. Take that opportunity. Try your hands at something new. If Phanom didn't say, you know, I'm not technical, but I'm in the technical industry, I gotta learn as much, you know. I've done this too, being a project manager, working with developers, you have to try to understand what you're saying. You got to put in that extra effort. If Azmath didn't take on this Snowflake COE, and that is not even the top of his accomplishment, but just as an example, you know, maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation today, you know. So we all got to raise our hand and try to just put our best foot forward. But if you want to change, if you want to get that promotion, if you want to get to the next level, honestly, what did I start with this today? Just do it.
So to add this, right, look at the different lens to it. I mean, you could be a champion. It's not the champion. It's not a one-to as a diversity inclusion ally. It's not a one-to-many thing. It's not going to happen. It's not about looking at the DI policies of the organization, looking at the current diversity inclusion index. No, it's basically a one-to-one role. You build it with each individual, right? Because there is something that that person is struggling on. So for me, as a diversity champion, I've always seen the voice of the group, looking at initiating some actionable thing that you can make a smile or give them something of, you know, why you're very important to this organization, right? Have that awareness. Just don't practice, but also, you know, do it in action, right? Speak against the discriminatory comments and behaviors. Ensure that the D&I policies are upheld from an organization standpoint across all levels. Sometimes all organizations want to score a tick mark, they say it is, but it's not followed through. So I know we're talking about career and all that. A lot of you folks in this call could be the D&I allies in the future, or you are today. Just make sure that you make it a little bit more personable, because the relationships are going to be for future, not for today, right? So that's my only take here. Back to you, Wendy and Diana, to close this. Yeah.
Actually, I know we're a little over time, but there is one more question I feel like it's important to address and finish on a diversity note. Somebody said who was volunteering and giving after-school workshops to underprivileged students, but it's not the majority of the students are not members of the majority that he or he is. And he's a diversity ally, but not a member of those that he helps. What is your feedback of what items feel you will motivate the next generation, the kids, to enter or even try STEM? Or what were the things that would turn them off?
So, for example, Diana started this Positive Planet initiative at Capgemini. So this was like after hours, after all the busy day, we used to participate. These were people who are economically impoverished. They're trying to stand up a business, low income, community, trying to get something going. We did it. It was a great initiative. We helped people. It was challenging from our time standpoint. I mean, looking at doing a high tech work for Capgemini, taking the time out and working with folks in the minority groups to get them up and up. There are programs there. It's all about you reaching out to them, right? There is this Positive Planet. I think, Diana, you're the board member today with them, you're the board of director. Maybe that's something that's a forum that you can help that person as well. Yeah.
Well, I will, just to add to that, I will say that, just to add to that, I'm a trustee at the Patrick School, which is a high school in New Jersey, which a lot of athletes in the NBA have come out. So like Kyrie Irving, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. So, typically, and this is going to go back to the Black and Latino community, they may not have data and AI coming up in their world, right? Mom and dad may not be doing that. So one of the things that I actually do is I am actually a volunteer. I teach, product, I teach strategy, and I teach, software and hardware engineering, just the concept so that these kids can basically see another career avenue that's open to them if they're open to learning. And I will definitely say that some of the kids, they have reached out to me after they've gone to college and they're like, I'm a computer science major now. And to me, to see a young, Hispanic, Latino, African-American young man to come to reach out to me and say, hey, I majored in computer science because of you, because it's cool, right? You think of this industry as, you're nerdy or geeky and it's not cool to do well in school. It was just kind of like, they see me in the hallways. My son goes to school. They're like, oh, miss, that's really cool. Like I can actually create that. And I'm like, and so for me, I the way I set my program, and it's, I'm always there for my kids, my students at the school as a trustee is, I'm telling them, hey, think of like a market inefficiency. And what would you do to solve that? And they've come up with some of the best ideas. And these are 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, through 12th graders. And they're coming up with ideas. And I literally will go on the site. There's a site called Republic where a lot of startups come in. And I literally have pulled up the Republic app and shown them, hey, these are the things that you're thinking about. You can do it. So for me, I would definitely say I have definitely extended myself to, the kids at the school. And again, those are the things where you kind of are able to help them say, I can do that too. Right.
So Wendy, just to wrap up, I think as Phanom almost close with what I was going to say, let's find a problem, let's solve the problem. Like Azmath said, we realized that there was huge gaps in, women, minority entrepreneurs, getting access to funding, getting access to how to run your business. Let's try to solve the problem, gaps in people knowing what courses to take and how to get to the next level. We create a problem solver. Gaps in people returning back to work. We create a program for women returning back to work. So that's how I think. So to answer that person's question, find the problems and just look for how you can solve it. And just start with what you know. Don't overthink it. Just put your best foot forward, even if it's writing a module or curriculum, you know, a small solution somewhere. Just do what you can, and you will see that that little will go a long way, you know. But honestly, thank you so much, guys, for the opportunity. And we apologize that we went over, but this was great. We really appreciate it. And thank you all for listening. Honestly, it's a great honor.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Wendy.
So much, everyone. Please feel free to connect with everyone on LinkedIn. Thank you for the song, Diana, and of course,
Yes, Diana.
Thank you so much. Thank
Have
you,
a great
guys.
day.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks, everybody.